Visions of the Future is officially here, and the new Season Pass, Viv Vision and Sparky in the Super Premium Season Pass, if you wish to, because they changed the system, is now available and people are playing the card. So we need to know, is it good or garbage? Here's how this works. I have several different decks that we've built here for the live stream. Everybody's saying hello. And then we're going to test those decks out. It is early in the day. Currently, it is about 3 hours before, for me, it's 4 o'clock when reset happens. Here are the decks that I have constructed. We're going to do about 20 games with each deck, and then fast forward to the results to let you know my early impressions of our Sparky and Viv Vision, good or garbage. So let's take a look at the cards real quick. We're going to start with Sparky. And the reason I want to start with Sparky is because I am stupid excited to play this card. Sparky's a 2/1 with the activate ability of give your card that last moved +3 power and then move it back to the location that it moved from. This ability, I said this in the season review video as well, is an incredibly strong card because it has targeted move. And what I love about this card that I don't think enough people are talking about, it just says last moved. It doesn't say moved last turn. It doesn't say moved this turn. It says last moved. You could have a card that has moved back on turn 2, move again on turn 6. So remember that when you're deck building with Sparky outside of the move archetypes. You could do some lockdown shenanigans that I don't even want to explore here. So I'm calling this one, I got the zoomies. Why? Because I have a dog named Taxi that often loves to run back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. If you have a dog, you understand the zoomies. So this is playing into that. It has a balance of tech mixed in with a balance of move. So you need to be playing Cosmo in this deck. Why? A couple of reasons. Number one, you have to have something to combat all of the other shenanigans that are going to be happening in the world of Marvel Snap on season launch, and Cosmo, in my opinion, is the best catch-all tech card to build around. So throw him into move and you will not regret it, because a lot of the mechanics that make cards move here can be played around. Now, Sparky in this deck is great because you drop him down on turn 2, and then you can decide when you want that move to revert. So Madam Web, for example, is a great card that as the card moves out during the staging phase, first thing you do is you activate Sparky because it has registered the move, and it will move back into the Madam Web lane. So if you do that with something like a Human Torch, Vulture, Dagger, you get extra moves into that mechanic. Simultaneously, you can have it be a retroactive thing that happens with something like Ghost Spider. One of the things that I love about this card is that it opens up the idea of that retroactive move. So you can do some move shenanigans with a card like Ghost Spider that typically you want to save for a big combination move, but you could do an early move early on, set up for a second move over the span of 2 turns, and then get the retro move of Sparky to happen. For example, you play down your Dagger into Madam Web on turn 3. I didn't call you Ben. You play your Madam Web and your Dagger. You get the card to move out on turn 4. Turn 5, you do a bunch of other setup. You do maybe a Hellion, maybe you put down your Craven into that lane and a Vulture. And then, as we get a merch sale in the middle of the video, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the dancing mug. I am getting mug-faced as we speak because the new ItsGuestGaming.shop merch line has launched. We've launched our Series 3 of coffee mugs, and that is today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is my own line of It's Guest Gaming coffee mugs, which is all Marvel Snap, Marvel Rivals inspired. Whether you compete in the Golden Gauntlet, you are grinding to infinite, or you are simply just a paid actor, all of these mugs are officially live in the ItsGuestGaming.shop store right now. Thank you so much to me for sponsoring this video. If you want to learn more, take a look at the link down in the description. Now, with that said, I do believe that this deck allows you several different play lines and is probably the best overall balance of controlled move versus delayed move. And that's something we're going to have to get used to with Sparky, is figuring out that delayed move. Madam Web presents that, Hellion presents that, and Sparky now also presents that too. altogether, I think this is a fantastically balanced deck, and I expect it to do very well, but I also expect it to do very well only in players' hands that really have taken some prior practice to move. If that is not you, I do not recommend this deck. The reason being is because there is another direction you can go, and that is playing into the Hydra Stomper lane. Now we're playing into an archetype that wants you to interfere with your opponent just as much. So if you're playing into another move deck, yeah, this is going to, you know, potentially not be the best thing in the world. But if you think 3 turns ahead rather than 2 turns ahead, you can use it to your advantage. So it has a lot of those other move elements. You do see the Miles Morales is now making its appearance here. We have Hellion, as well as Craven and Heimdall. You can sub out Heimdall if you want for another big 6-drop, whether you want a static one like Eliath or just a big body like Galactus First Steps. Those all will fit into this deck the same way because it is a Scream Hydra Stomper deck. And Scream is doing 2 different things here. Number one, it's allowing you to scale up via the interference that you present out there, like Spider-Man and Polaris. But just as importantly, it's also working as a tech card against the Viv Vision decks that are going to be everywhere on ladder at season reset. Because a lot of people are going to want to try to play move cards and they're going to want to do something special with it. So why not punish them? A Scream deck is going to be very strong right now, and I think it's something you should really think about if you go down that pipeline. Now, what about Viv Vision? Is Viv Vision something that every player should have? In my opinion, yes. Why? Because it's the season pass. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. The season pass, if you're going to invest into the game, it is still the best value in the game. And if you want to learn more about great values, take a look at the bundles video that I did up in the upper corner. Now, let's talk about something that you did not think about with Viv Vision. Darkhawk. Let that sink in. So Darkhawk is playing into a very annoying play line. Hear me out here. Terrax the Gamer has something that Viv Vision also has. Terrax is, for each location, shuffle a rock into the losing player's deck. This archetype is focused on wanting to win lanes early, just like Viv Vision, who is the season pass, who's a 3/2. At the start of each turn, give all cards in your hand +1 power if you're winning here. Otherwise, move this to another location. So you have 2 different decks being built at the same time. You have the Darkhawk build, which is playing Korg, Terrax, Darkhawk, and punishing your opponent for having those extra cards, because we also see a lot of Victoria Hand right now. Victoria Hand is a very strong card in the current art meta. So why not also then counter it with Gorgon? You got a rock, guess what? It's a 2-cost rock. You got that awesome hood that you wanted to play. Awesome. You can get your demons, but now they cost you 2. Punish what is popular. That's the idea of this deck. So sure, it's running Mercury Cannonball. Can that duo be anything else? Absolutely. It is still an incredibly strong duo, even with Cannonball post nerf now being 5/6. It's still very strong, but I'm mainly having Mercury in here as a movable piece to help gain lane wins, whether it's via Terrax, whether it's via Viv Vision. Don't sleep on the idea of Misery getting extra rocks to appear by destroying the Terrax in the lane that it's winning. It will not destroy the Mercury, so might as well move Mercury over and then destroy Terrax. So you've got a couple of different engines all playing at once. You've got the Hood Misery engine, you've got the Darkhawk engine, you've got the Mercury Cannonball engine, you've got the Priority Lead engine, which is looking at Hydra Bob, Medusa as a 2/5 on reveal, and then Viv Vision. So you have solid stats to disperse. So by turn 3, if you want to play the Viv Vision line, get all the +1s in your hand, great, that's awesome. If you're really ahead and you have Darkhawk in your hand already, play Terrax and you add 3 rocks potentially to your opponent's deck. I think that this deck may not be the most popular choice for Viv Vision, but I do expect this type of deck to start to emerge as popular. Yes, you can sub out Medusa for Iron Patriot, but I just wanted a couple more points. But we come back to that later on. Let's talk about Viv's tech buff. This is the deck that counters the decks. Right now, going into this season, I think that we need to be ready for chaos. So Zabu tech chaos is, in my opinion, the way to go. Here's why. I think that we need to be looking at Mobius and Mobius because we see a ridiculous amount of surge. We see a ridiculous amount of cost reduction via Mr. Fantastic First Steps. Sarah's always popular at any given point. The ability to reduce that reduction is huge. Think about the beginning of every season. People are trying to climb to infinite. How do people climb to infinite? More often than not, it's either with the season pass card or their comfort deck. And people don't know what the meta is. And when you don't know what the meta is, what happens? You play a deck that you know is safe, like Living Tribunal, like Mr. Negative, okay? These are two of the more popular decks. You also see Destroy and Discard. All of these decks have cost reduction mechanics, and Mobius is preventing them from going crazy. Stardust is another incredibly strong tech card. You can flex this out for another 3 cost tech piece if you want to throw in Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Cosmo, whatever you tickles your fancy there. But Stardust, I think, is very good right now because of all of the extra mechanics of Arnim Zola, which is starting to rise in popularity again too. So this is playing into, let me throw a bunch of 4s in there. Let me reduce down a bunch of those 4s. And then Viv Vision is adding onto here the Angela synergy too, where you play Viv Vision onto Angela. Much easier way to win that lane. And then if it moves out, look, you've got Scarlet Spider buffing things in your hand. You've got getting buffed in your hand. You've got Gwenpool and Galacta buffing up some of these smaller later pieces that you play down also. Then you've got your tech safety net of Mobius and Mobius, Shang-Chi, and Stardust. I think that there is a variety of different things that you can do with tech right now. So if you want to have a catch-all, this is the way to do it, while also playing the season pass at the same time and not being punished for doing so. Lastly, we do have a hybrid deck. So if you do get the super premium season pass and you want to play both cards, I've taken both ideas, hybrid them together, and say, don't stare at the fireworks because it's Vision Sparky. Got it? So I know it was a bad joke pun, but it's taking the idea of Hydra Stomper, taking the idea of Cannonball and Mercury, and then the Scream piece, and just throwing it all together and say, look, I'm going to be moving a lot, you're going to be moving a lot, but I have control over you because I have the benefit of a Hydra Stomper. I have the benefit of Mercury Cannonball. I have the ability to take your points away. And then even when you move stuff and I don't, Batric's going to also ramp up power too. I think that this is probably going to be where a lot of people start this type of deck, the combination of Punishment, Scream, Cannonball, Chaos. So let's find out what happens, right? This is the moment where I say goodbye to the past and we say hello to the future by doing a swipe wave. I think that'll be a good one. And we'll do it with the coffee mug. Ready? Cheers to our sponsor, me. Woo, wow, and look at that. All of a sudden, it's past midnight. To do all of these games for 5 different decks, 20 games per deck, it took us this time about 8.5 hours because I really wanted to get down into figuring out, are these cards good because we're not infinite yet, or are these cards actually good and you should seriously think about them? So let's find out. Let's take a look at the results from Sparky and Viv Vision. Let's head over to this screen here. So the first deck we tried, I got the Zoomies, all right? I got the Zoomies. This was a Sparky only deck, very move heavy focused, and it did very well. Sparky definitely felt like a very integral, oh my God, I can't even say integral. This is what happened. We're on hour 15 or 14 of streaming, so bear with me, okay? Integral part of this deck. The reason being is, as expected, the targeting of Sparky was absolutely fantastic. The ability to know exactly where that card is going to go back and when it's going to go back is really important. Now, I will say it did make move more difficult. I hate to tell you that. Getting the ordering right with Sparky is incredibly difficult. And the card that ended up interfering with the most is actually not in this deck. This deck probably felt like the best move focused deck, and I'm going to highly recommend it. I really am. Next up, we tried Darkhawk, and this deck, again, all of these, as you see, and Viv's tech buff also did well. 70% win rate, 66% win rate. These decks all were good. They were strong. And these are the two Viv Vision decks, but very, very different. Now, the Viv Vision tech buff deck, in my opinion, could have been ran without Viv Vision. It was a very good tech buff deck. It took a little bit of time to get the ordering right with Stardust and Scarlet Spider, but outside of that, it was a very good deck. I'm going to want to test that shell without Viv Vision and probably try some other, piece in there. I don't know if it's going to be a tech piece or if it's going to be a point piece, but it did feel like a very good fit there. Now, in regards to, it felt like a very good deck, but Viv Vision wasn't a good fit there. She did feel good in the Darkhawk deck, which wanted you to play either into the Darkhawk line early because you want the Terrax to go off, or you want it to go off twice because you've got Misery. Or if your backup plan is to run Viv Vision, then you're catching up slowly because you're adding power to your hand, or you've got a move mechanic out there too. Mercury did end up coming in handy a couple of times where it did lock down a lot of the move cards that the opponents were playing because, as projected, the season pass creates a lot of move decks. Case in point. So it was a key piece there. I am going to say that in this shell, it's going to need a little bit of tweaking. I don't know if Gorgon was the right answer, but it did have an effect a couple of times. It did have some weight a couple of times. I might want to experiment with, instead of Gorgon in here, maybe throwing in just a simple Sentry, just to have another big power piece that works well with Merlin, and then we can kind of manipulate from there. I don't know. I'm still debating about it, but the shell of this is something that Viv Vision worked well with because it wants to push that winning that location mindset. Maybe it's Iron Patriot. We talked about that in, I believe, in the first part of the video. Now, the last two decks, Okay, so Hydra Sparky, Don't Stare at the Fireworks, best deck of the night by a freaking mile. Okay, I'll just talk quickly about Hydra Sparky, which was the Hydra Stomper build. The Hydra Stomper build with Sparky did not feel as good as I wanted it to. And the biggest reason was actually Batrick. There were so many people playing move decks right now in the beginning of the season that the ordering all gets messed up because of when Batrick moves and when Sparky decides to move and when the Viv Visions were also moving. So actually this ended up hurting the deck more than it ended up helping the deck. Sure, we ended up with a positive win rate, but no cubes gained. We just kept breaking even with it because when you lose big because you think you've got the move combo just right, and then they move one extra card or they prepare for a move differently that you weren't expecting and it moves one card the wrong way, and it just was not consistent enough for me to say that in that shell it worked. But when you took out a couple of pieces, like you stopped leaning so heavily into Hydra Stomper needing to be the win condition, and you start going a little bit techier, we threw in the Cannonball, we threw in the Stegron into that deck, and now then we started messing around with a little more power and it felt more consistent, right? We weren't trying to force the Spider-Man down their throats. It felt more consistent, and that's what I think the deck desperately wanted. It wanted another way to create control, which hands down Mercury does. Sure, Scream did a little bit as well too because of all the decks out there, but Mercury was definitely better for that. So by having that package in there, even at 5/6, there were several times that 5/6 Cannonball was just the solid right play all by himself on turn 5 with no Mercury on the board because of all of those other move mechanics that are going on, and you're throwing off the opponent's rhythm. So as a tech piece, I enjoyed Mercury Cannonball more than leaning into that whole Fenris Wolf destroy package that it was famously known for last season. Then throwing in Miles Morales, who I think is going to have to be between these two decks. He felt like an auto include from here on out for the rest of the season because so many people are going to be playing move packages. He's a 1/6. Like, this might be one of the secret best cards of the month. I'm not sure yet, but I do know 5 of them that did get secret buffs. That's for damn sure, but we'll talk about that on Thursday. This deck, though, don't stare at the fireworks. That was the best deck of the night. And by playing into that control element, it allowed that flexibility for Batrick to not have to worry as much. It mitigated the damage of what I kept regularly seeing with Sparky here, because Sparky in this deck ended up being a last-minute decision mover. And I really liked that here. In this deck, Sparky was more about activating extra cards to get Hydra Stomper's numbers to go up and up and up and up because it's one of the main win conditions of the deck. This is a bonus win condition for cheap. So could you take this deck and maybe switch out Hydra Stomper for another 3 cost like Sage? Potentially. It's a good substitution and I wouldn't be opposed to that idea because this had the nice balance of tech, control, and points all mixed in. Definitely the best deck of the night. But the big question essentially remains. Are they good or garbage? Yeah, they're good. They are both good. They are both good. And I hate to say it, I really do. And you're going to hate me. Go ahead, leave the comments down below. Right now, I think Sparky might be the better card. I think Sparky enables too much. He allows for targeting. He allows for move packages to be smaller that you can implement into other decks. I do think he is an incredibly strong card and should not be slept on, even outside of standard move. Being able to put a card back, I'm going to be testing that lockdown thing I talked about earlier because I really enjoy what this card was bringing to the table. In regards to Viv Vision, I can see why they definitely, in the data mines, had her at a 3/3 and then nerfed her to a 3/2. I can see why, because to me, at 3/3, it would have been too easy to get that effect to happen on turn 3. Right away. You need this card on turn 3, but you also need to play into this card as often as you can. So it does require a little commitment, and you can do that via control more so than just putting more points in that lane. That's how I felt like Viv Vision should be played, and it wants these move package combos to work with it. Should you get the season pass? Absolutely. It's still the best deal in the game just for Viv Vision. There's a whole guide out there by Lauren Whatevs who broke down the fact that getting the Series 5 card in the Super Premium Season Pass for an extra $10 is a dramatically different value now and is one of the best values in the game. You should take a look at that option because if you're debating between tokens and $10 to get Sparky, without a question of a doubt, it's $10. Get the $10. Don't even hesitate. If you only have tokens, though, Sparky is absolutely worth it if you like move. So thank you so much, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. And the next video that comes out is going to be this again, good or garbage, but it will be for the other 3 new cards that all launched right now. Well, yesterday, technically, because I mean, it's almost 1 a.m. my time. So we'll call it yesterday, but thank you. And as always, see you next time.